Ahoy, hoy, and welcome to Players and Book. We have a couple of players out this week. I think they are fighting aliens again. So we are going to do another bonus action. If you have questions of any kind, please feel free to put them into the chat. We're going to probably be discussing some stuff about this campaign, some stuff about DMing in general in the meantime. And please introduce yourself, greatest players in the world.
I'm Lauren Urban. Here you can find all the stuff I'm doing at lauren-urban.com. I'm usually playing Fairlos, your tabaxi cleric. Um, I still have a skin out for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. I mean, they don't really go away, but it's new, so you can go check that out. We also have a code floating around for Idle Champions. If you do !code, you can find it in chat. But if you're on Idle Champions, you can get the latest skin for Orkira Eldrex, who's a different cleric that I played a long time ago. Actually, not that long ago. But yeah, I've got that skin out. And if you want to see some of the other stuff I'm doing, just go to my website, lauren-urban.com. And tonight, we're not talking about Easter, but we might talk about candy.
It's true. Hi, I'm Jen Kretschmer. I like candy. You can find me on the interwebs at dreamwisp.biscuit.social, dreamwisp or dreamwisp Jen, depending where you are hanging out. I normally play Rifulet, your friendly neighborhood tsunami druid. And yeah, that's it.
And I'm Jeremiah Sumerian. I usually play everyone else. And yeah, you can find me all over the place on the internet. I mostly do SCP stuff. I write some stuff. It's fun times. So at least we have one question from our patrons to start us off here. If Crescenza is or was the Marvelous Muse, First Lady of Encores and Unexpected Key Changes, what now is Tallulah becoming? I think that's really going to come down to what Tallulah wants to be. She's just taken on the embodiment of a performing type god, right? The portfolio, for lack of a better way to put it, is just performing arts. And what niche that she wants to lead into is probably going to come down to what she wants to do, really.
I could see the Marvelous Muse part staying, and then the rest of that just kind of getting tacked on depending on how she fulfills her duties. Haha, duty.
Duty. Yeah. You said duty.
I said duty. But yeah, like I get the sense that that's what happened with Crescenza, right? Is like that's her official title was like Marvelous Muse, and then the rest of it just kind of came along as she was doing stuff, and it
amplifies the thing you enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, Jen knows all about titles.
Oh my gosh, yeah. For anyone in chat who is not familiar, I played a character who was an anthropologist, and everywhere she went, whenever someone would bestow a title upon her, which was often, it would just get tacked onto her name. So by the end, I think she had something like 22 titles attached to her name. So it was a very long name, and yeah, she was very much about names having meaning and the importance of carrying that with you. It was a lot. Don't recommend unless you have a group that's all for it.
Yeah.
Because also your character sheet doesn't hold all of those names at a certain point.
Is there a character limit? I don't know, but we're going to find out.
We did find out. There is. At a certain point. You need to put it in the notes section.
Yeah. There is one similarity between Crescenza and Tallulah, and that's the fact that they're not using their real names. Crescenza is just a stage name for or sort of like, yeah, stage name's the right word. Right phrase. So yeah, I mean, and also maybe Tallulah does decide to switch it up in the last second and pick something specific, but we'll see as that develops, really. Just titles get based off of the domain, and the domain is sort of very limited because like the other 7 big gods control most domains and most subdomains. That was the whole point of putting them into place in the first place. So yeah, we'll see.
And you say, not using the real names. I would argue not using their original name, but like real name at some point it becomes a real name. Whether or not it's your original name, that's something completely different. But like,
Correct.
you know, a stage name, if that's what people know you by, that's what people know you by. That is who
Yeah.
you are. You
I
know,
mean,
it's an interesting my Friday game is ending up in the Feywild, so I've been thinking about names for the last day or two. And I think I've thought about this before, not just with Feywild stuff, but like who you are and what name you go by and what name you choose to go by and nicknames and you know all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's you can have multiple names and they can all be your name and they just might mean something in different contexts. um you know, it's the idea of like actors and actresses who take stage
Yep.
names but their legal names are
yeah.
still tied to it, so you can sign a check that way. So
I mean, to some degree, not quite to that level, but to some degree, that actually describes me because Jeremiah Cimmerian is not my actual name. It's just the name that I use
I mean,
for as an entertainer.
someday if you want to really delve into it, it's the Michael Douglas. There were three people involved
Yeah,
who have names because they all had similar
yeah.
things, and one person took another name that turned out to be somebody else's name, which turned out to be something else. And I can't remember who the other two are, but I know Michael Douglas is one of them.
It's so funny seeing like how someone would be like my name, like for example, my real name is Chris Morris, and there are so many, there not so many, but there's at least like a half dozen notable or famous in certain places Chris Morrises in the world. So it would be silly for me to ever think I could get I register with the Actors Guild if I was, you know, doing that as Chris Morris. That's not happening. Not Chris Morris, not Christopher Morris. None of those are going to happen. So I would have to
Well,
do
I know
exactly what I've
an
done.
actor named Christopher Norris with an N.
Mm.
Um,
that
she's a
might be too
woman, and she
close.
was an actor, a soap actor, and a child star back
It's
a
my
long
name
time
is
ago.
so common. I lived in a city a while back, about 200,000 people. No, it was a little bit less than that. It was about 100,000, 200,000. But it's not a big city, right? Just a decently sized. And I was working at a tip agency, and you had to sign in. And I went to sign in, and you did it in alphabetical order. And I'd go down, go down, go down, and there were three other Chris Morrises in that town that were signed up at that temp agency.
Hmm.
One of them even had the same middle initial.
Oh, oh.
It's not quite John Smith level, but it's extremely common.
Well, and you know, we're all familiar with using handles and nicknames
Mhm.
Hmm.
online. And, you know, I've had, it's only been recently in my life. And by recently, I still only mean like the last 4 years or so. But for most of my life online, I have used a handle. And so I have friends who have known me way longer with a handle than they've known me by my real name. And on top of that, because my handle has included oboe something, either you know Lauren oboe or something, but it's always included this instrument that I play. And on top of that, when I'm in the professional setting of an orchestra, that's usually how you are addressed by the conductor. They don't call out your name. Now, sometimes they do, but often they're addressing a section or they're addressing a specific instrument. They're saying, you know, oboes do this, you know, violin one, take care of that, blah blah blah. So I'm used to being called oboe in both a professional and a personal setting, so it doesn't bother me when it happens. But every once in a while, I still realize in the personal setting when that does, how weird that can be. Even though there are friends that, like I said, they've known me longer as that nickname than they've known me as my real name. You know, my partner has known me longer by that nickname than by my real name. So, you know, what how does the Shakespeare go? What's in a name?
A rose by any other name would smell sweet.
There you go.
uh, so Fuel-ish has asked, question, why is water wet? Okay, so
Oh,
Because
jeez.
snonky.
listen, listen, guys.
Water is not wet.
People
What?
will argue that this is the case, but think of okay, Lauren, you and I are going to have a discussion then because I would argue, a single molecule of water is not wet. But if you have two molecules of water that are touching each other, they are wet.
Listen,
because of the other. Mhm.
um, my water is not wet. What water touches is made wet. Does not come from me. It comes from the account for Lake Superior.
Mm,
And if an entire lake has decided to say that,
I'm just
um,
saying.
who am I to argue with an entire Great Lake?
Water can touch water. Can
There
it
was a
not?
recent interesting development that's relevant to this a bit, which is there had been a very, very long discussion among scientists about ice and whether there was a layer of water on top or not.
Oh,
And they only recently discovered that there was, and it's more than a thousandth, 100,000th the thickness of a sheet of paper. But it took them,
it's
decades to discover that to confirm that this existed.
I don't remember how long ago it was, but it's been within the last decade that they have finally, not finally, they have a much better idea now of determining why water, or no, not why ice is slippery. They
Yeah,
haven't actually known.
that was
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was not the last decade. It was in the last 6 months.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly. I was saying I couldn't remember when I read that exactly, but yeah, I learned about that recently. Like they just don't know. They, for the longest time, they just didn't know. Why is ice slippery? It just is. It's because it's slippery. And yeah, that study that they did, and I think they're still working on replicating it, and there's probably more to be done in that field. But
Yes,
yeah,
there
what you're
is.
talking about is that they believe there is a that and the mechanism that creates that is significantly more complex and is probably worth talking about on the show.
Yes, it
But
is. But it's interesting to look up and worth
yeah,
checking out. Science Friday went into it on
yeah.
NPR.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if Lake Superior says that, then Lake Superior is wrong because water can touch other water.
But it is the Superior Lake.
And I say
No,
that having lived on the shores of Lake Erie for a good part of my life. So there you
I
go.
lived on Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm. They are
I
Great
lived
Lakes.
I lived near the Great Lakes. I lived in central Pennsylvania, but we got the effects of lakes from the weather.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I lived on the lake in college. My
Oof.
dorm at Northwestern was literally on the waterfront. We could jump out the windows of our dorm and land in the lake if we wanted to. It was cold.
It was cold. It
It
was
was
cold.
very cold in the winter. We would walk out with sleeping bags in the winter onto the ice and look up at the stars and stuff. It was fun, but it was cold.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
will.
miss that part.
What I do love, here I'll leave a little bit of positive before we go on to the next question. In my lifetime, positive environmental thing. So when I was growing up in Buffalo, you could not touch Lake Erie. It was a polluted disaster area. Lake Erie, because Buffalo used to be a steel town, used to be where it was one of the Rust Belt towns, and Lake Erie was a polluted nightmare. You did not swim in it, you did not fish in it, you did not look at it sideways. In my lifetime, they've not only cleaned it up to the point that you can fish in it, you can swim in it. So it is now like a clean lake. They've pulled down the vast majority of the decrepit steel mills, the eyesores that were along the lakefront. And so there's not only some lakefront property, but they put up a whole bunch of windmills, which was a fight for a while because there were those people who were like, it's an eyesore. It's like, no, it's not. And then there were people who were like, it's going to kill cows. And it's like, there's no cows on the waterfront. And it's going to kill birds. It's like, no, they're not they are not going to run into windmills. They're not that fast. And then all of a sudden, everybody's power bills went down and they went, yay, windmills. And so it's been amazing now just how much in my lifetime it's like the lake is clean and you can fish in it. And now all these beautiful windmills are there. And it's kind of lovely to go home and see that. So
I grew up with smog days in LA, and we don't have those anymore because we implemented all these environmental things and changed our gasoline and things.
yeah.
And yeah, that we when I was growing up as a kid, we had days that we were not allowed to go outside, because we had smog alerts, and so we couldn't play during recess and things, uh, because of how bad the pollution was. That doesn't exist anymore, which is amazing.
Yeah. There are
So we
positive
can
things.
change our environment for the better.
Yep.
It's possible.
In our lifetimes. Not even
Mhm.
like, we have to
Yeah.
wait for hundreds of years.
I mean, that's the great success of closing up, or not quite, but nearly closing
The
up the
whole
hole in the
ozone
ozone
layer.
layer. Just
Yep.
required people to be like, hey, this is a problem we should fix. Let's fix it. And it got fixed.
Yep.
As soon as people admit that there's a problem and work towards fixing it, that problem gets fixed.
Not
Because
only, yeah, let's go ahead.
humans are awesome, actually. But
Yeah. Not only did we fix the hole in the ozone layer, but nobody has frizzy hair filled with hairspray anymore. Like, it was a win-win. All right, what other questions do we have? Because that was a tangent.
Luke McCay asks,
Oh, hey, I know that handsome man.
can you tell me about a time you've done a great combo with another player in combat in D&D? Like one feat to set up an attack, or an artifact that enhances another player's ability. I think
A fast spell special.
yeah, because
Yeah.
early on, I think I kind of moved away from it, but early on in this campaign, I'm talking about how I wanted to incentivize that as much as possible. I think I think I've kind of moved away from it, not in the sense that I didn't want it to happen, but because I I took on other priorities when it comes to combat stuff. But yeah, I mean, you guys have definitely done some of that kinds of stuff. I mean, to be fair,
To be fair.
the
Phil.
the circle casting stuff that you guys can do now is exactly the kind of style of thing, but it would be nice if we could get some of the I really do want you guys to be in combat, to be in front of some sort of intractable problem, and then pitch me a circle cast with one of your other players and be like, can we combine our abilities to solve this problem this way?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, let's try it. um yeah, I'm sorry, that's my above board for this campaign thing, but you guys have had other games as well.
I feel like a lot of the ones that I think of are not so cut and dry, like fastball special, like
Yeah.
like the ones that I think of that are cut and dry are some of the characters that I've played that literally do um setups like that. Like I've played Battle Master fighters
Yeah.
that do things like that, or um like when I'm offering the help action or things like that. But outside of that, a lot of it is actually slightly more subtle, but happens a ton because we do a lot of communication during combat. So
Mhm.
a lot of the setup, um like, yeah, it's flashy when it's like, by our powers combined, huge fireball. But a lot of it really is just, hey, if do you want me to move over here, or are you all okay if I move over there, when I do the thing? Or, the talking about strategy ahead of time before, before you move or before you do your thing. So,
Yeah.
like, just kind of keeping in communication with everybody, so that like, on the basic level, so that I'm not getting in the way of what somebody else wants to do, um literally and figuratively, especially especially as the one of the melee players in this room. It's like, okay, are you all okay if I go here, or do I need to hang back for a little bit for fireballs? But then also, like, that idea of like, oh, if I can take out this person, can the rest of you handle this over here? Or um a lot of it is tactics. And especially with fights that are more puzzle fights of like, okay, we need to I know this is another game, and I know that, Sim, you've offered some really good puzzle fights, but the one that comes to mind, unfortunately, is another game right away, and where it was, we had so many rounds to take out a big thing because there was a bomb that was about to go off, and there was all these different moving pieces all at the same time. And so basically right at the beginning it was like, okay, it makes sense for you to do this and me to do this and you to do this. And so it was like divide and conquer. But then even during the battle, as the battle was evolving, it was like, does it make sense for me to continue to do this, or do you need me to switch and help you? um so it's a lot of that. It's unglamorous, but it is really, it's like the meat and potatoes of D&D. It really is what makes combat, those are like the best combats, are those moments in where they just feel really meaty because it feels like the whole team is participating together, making things work.
Mhm.
And so no, you don't get the huge by our powers combined moments, but it feels like everybody is working together to make it work. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because it's what it's stakes too. It's like if you're everyone is just focused on doing their thing specifically. I want to do as much damage as I can to this monster right over here, exclusion of all other thoughts of everything else that's going on the board.
Yeah.
There's really not as much stakes to it. It's just can I get big number? That's
Yeah.
literally it. Whereas
Right.
opposed to like your opponent does a high or your ally does a high risk maneuver where they get into the middle of a bunch of enemies, and now you in your turn have to think about how you can best assist them to keep them from dying. That is a much more interesting round of combat than the other thing I just described.
Yep.
I mean, look, if there's a situation where one of us could open up a vulnerability to thunder damage, and then we open that up for Fairlos to do max out,
Mhm.
you know, um, Thunder Cleric goodies. That's just that's the kind of thing that's really fun. I play a lot of controllers and a lot of wizards and things, and I often run into situations where the plan is to set things up that will open those kind of avenues up for people, and depending on the group, sometimes it's fantastic and you get a group that's working together, and sometimes you get groups where people run in and get right into the center of where you're needing to cast, and unless you're an evoker and have spell sculpting, you suddenly have lost the ability to do the thing that was going to help everybody. So I think the communication of the group is really, really important. But I'm partial to things like, especially at lower levels, like the grease tunnel, the burning grease tunnel, where you just put people into a burning grease chute and they can't go anywhere, and just everyone is just everything's funneled into this scenario that goes very badly for
You've
baddies and very
you've
well for the team.
you've
Um,
described a thing that I am now visualizing, and it is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, it's a terrifying, really, really nasty maneuver that is pretty easy to achieve as a group, if you have a group that's willing to work together tactically. But some of it too is having a group that's willing to discuss what they can do and
Yeah.
recognize that, like, sitting back for a round and letting somebody else get something set up, or lift the person onto the cliff so someone else can shove them over the edge. Those types of things become the really fun ways. But also I think my absolute favorite team up, because I love rewarding those kinds of things in my games, when I'm DMing, is when I was running the game for the 12 and 13-year-olds. The one of the first combats, the halfling rogue wanted to hop on the shoulders of the 6 foot tall paladin and fight chicken fight style, so they could throw like bags over the heads of the enemies, and keep them from seeing what they were doing, and then let the paladin just wail on the enemies. And I was like, there are not mechanics for this, but yes, you can do this. Yes, you get extra damage. Yes, you get advantage. All of the bonuses, because it's a creative, unique, fun thing. And the idea of, like, the four-armed, four-legged pala rogue,
Yep.
is just delightful. So that kind of stuff, I love that kind of creativity when players are just having fun with each other, and not where it becomes about more than the tactics, and it just brings the game to life in a way that I think it's easy for us to fall into. Okay, I'm going to mechanically do this next. Okay, strategically, I'm going to tactically do these things with this combat. But when you flip into the creative mode of it, when you flip into the storytelling of it, that's when it gets really exciting, I think. And it can be easy to forget that. And when I was playing with the kids, that was all they did, and it was so great.
I played a bard in a game that actually we a campaign we just finished like a month or two ago. We did a it was from Heckna from Hit Point Press.
Yeah.
Super super fun, and I built a bard that was 100% in combat about mitigation. So she really did not do much in the way of damage. Like I had a couple of damage-ish stuff I could do, but honestly, she did more off her turn than on, because she was all about um, giving the help action or giving bardic inspiration, and then she had silvery barbs, and she had dissonant whispers, and she had all of the features that bards get that off their turn can really help your team, to help them do the thing they want to do, or
Yeah.
hinder the bad guy from stopping them or from doing the thing they want to
Right.
do. So it turned into a um it was almost playing the opposite of a normal, the normal idea of, oh, you're waiting for your turn to come up so that you can then do the thing. It was like, oh, my turn is actually kind of boring. Oftentimes it's not really much that I can do on my turn, but off my turn I am like charting what happens, and I'm looking at my spells, and I'm making sure that I'm keeping track of who has what. And then like, do you need this now? Do you need this now? So yeah, that was an interesting like inversion of the whole uh like, you always want to be paying attention in battle, but like, when is the important part that you really need to be paying attention? Like, my turn is the least important part of when I'm paying attention during this battle. And then it turns into like, okay, I need all of you to tell me, is it important now that I use my reaction, or should I save this for some other big thing that someone else has going on? Because I can
Yeah.
stop this. And then oftentimes that then changes, because it's like everyone's, well, save it for the moment, save it for a little bit later. And then a nat 20 drops, and everyone's like, no, now's the time. Now, please, now.
I I can throw out two examples. I don't play a lot, unfortunately. But in my last two games, I can think of two different examples. The one's simple enough. It was a game I was playing with Billith, who is our producer and moderator in chat. And Billith, I believe, was playing like a sniper style character, and I was playing a moon druid. So I chose a warhorse as one of my forms to allow the sniper to sit on my back and snipe from a comfortable range and never to have anyone ever catch up with them. And at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm a moon druid, so I could also starry wisp them from my warhorse form. The idea I had was that it would he would briefly turn into a unicorn, and then the glowing horn would fly off and do the thing. But the probably the best version of that would be to answer the original question directly. I was playing in a game. It didn't last long, but I was playing, I think, a Path of the Giant Barbarian who could increase its creature size to large. And one of our other party members also had enlarge and reduce.
Mm-hmm.
So they bumped me up from large to, what is it after large? Huge?
Huge.
Huge,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we were fighting a adult, or maybe even an ancient, I don't remember exactly, but an adult dragon. And this adult dragon was perched on top of a building that I had already climbed up on before the spell had been cast, and then the spell got cast on me. So, of course, I got like an extra D4 or whatever it was from the enlarge or reduce, but my thinking was like, why waste it on an attack? So I'm as big as this dragon now. So I reached forward and suplexed him off of the roof back into into the center where the rest of the party was waiting to wail on him in that moment. And I think that's probably my best combo thing that I've done recently, at least. I was like, he's up here, they're down there, they can't get up here as easily. Let's fix that problem.
Yeah. Have you seen, it came out a couple days ago, the new Unearthed Arcana for Dungeons and Dragons that includes the Circle of the Titan Druid?
No.
So the Circle of the Titan Druid, it's in UA, so it's not official, it's not, official. But at the whole idea of the Circle of the Titan Druid is you get 3 new forms that are large creatures, and they have like specific stat blocks. There's a flying one, a land one, and a water one, and I think it's like the Leviathan, the Behemoth, and the something else. I don't remember what it is.
Ah, yes, the something else, the most
something else.
feared,
Yes,
the most feared of creatures.
Are you Mothra? Are you Godzilla? Or are you the Leviathan? Either way, so you turn into a I think it's a large creature or a huge creature. The upshot though is once you reach level 15 or level 14, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now. You get to be a gargantuan sized creature. Yeah. So when you wild shape into your Titan form, you become gargantuan. So I'm like,
that's wild.
So you wild shape into a gargantuan sized behemoth, and then you get your friend to cast enlarge on you. Now, of course, there's no size larger than gargantuan, but you still double your size. So I'm like, I want to do this, not really to actually do anything impressive, just to watch the token on the map go whoop and just be ridiculously huge.
Wait, this brings new meaning to Strahd saying I am the land.
Right? That's all I want to do. That's all I just want.
Wait, but
I want to be that big.
This is you have to make sure you are fighting in places where you can fight at those sizes.
Yeah, you just gotta be outside.
Because
yeah,
that's where that's gonna get sticky. Because at those higher levels, if you happen to be anywhere other than big wide open spaces,
yep.
Even at the lower levels, in smaller dungeons, you're going to be in.
I'm imagining there's probably some language in there about you would think that they would put something in there about the limitations and like what and give alternatives, but
I didn't see anything specific in Circle of the Titan. In Large Reduce, it does say if you cast it and there's not enough room, it won't work. But there's no language that says there's no language stopping you from casting it on any specific size.
So you wild shape and the camera immediately pulls back out to the outside of the temple that crumbles around you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're the Hulk. It's you're
And then you enlarge, and then you become a gargantuan times 2.
My players did it. I'm sorry, that reminded me of it. That my players did a combo with enlarge and reduce again in the very first campaign I ran. The last session and the second last session was when they were finally defeating the big bad. They didn't go in and do the boss fight that I'd set up at all. I'd given them a scroll of the comet a while back. And what they did was they ordered it in this particular way. One of them cast Tiny Hut. One of them called the comet down on top of the tiny hut because they would be invulnerable inside it. Right. And one of them sacrificed their hand to cast enlarge on it as it impacted them.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Reaching out of the tiny hut. Because I think the 5.5 tiny hut's a little different now, but at the time you could do it exactly that way. Reach your hand out and do the spell.
And you can reach out the front door. That's kind of the only place you can't. It's not an impermeable barrier.
Yeah, it was like a bubble.
Well, but it isn't. It's not. You can't. It's a. I don't think
the old version. The old version was just a bubble that you could choose people who could pass in and out of it without problem.
Right.
And it was a dome, I
Right.
think, also.
It was
Yeah.
a dome. I never had heard of it being a permeable barrier beyond like having an entrance and an exit kind of thing. I
Well,
never thought of
tiny
it
hut,
as you
tiny.
could see out, but it
Yeah,
didn't say anything about being able to reach out, right? Am I misremembering?
I
I
think you could
seem to
even
remember
the
you
old
could.
one. You could even cast spells from the inside out. That was actually one of the exploity things that they fixed in the 5.5 version, if memory
I'm
serves.
trying to remember. I do remember you could just like in and out and in and out from
Yeah,
anywhere. And that one of the other things is it's just a dome, so it doesn't
yeah,
protect you from stuff that can burrow. So you had to
yeah.
be careful about that with the
Right.
tiny
That
hut.
I'd
Uh,
ruled that it was a dome that also had a like it was a semi-sphere sort of. So
oh,
yeah,
okay.
demi-sphere. That's the thing I'm thinking of. But yeah,
While Jen is looking that up, I will say, for those of you who want to have extra fun with enlarge reduce, as a DM once, I offensively used enlarge reduce because you can use enlarge reduce on objects, and people forget about the object thing. Use enlarge reduce on your players on their armor. Enlarge their armor.
what if you reduce their arm?
See, but you can't reduce their armor because once again, it has
Yeah,
nowhere to
yeah, yeah,
go. So
yeah. No,
once it
I get what you're saying.
hits,
Yeah.
yeah. But if you enlarge it, suddenly they are a child in their mother's clothes, and they're no longer in armor, and it encumbers them, and it's
Mm.
hilarious.
But yeah, gosh, yeah, they destroyed like an entire city with that comet, though.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's diabolical.
And I was in because they had actually cracked open the final boss battle room, which I had originally intended for the boss battle room itself to be magically protected from this sort of thing. Like it would have destroyed the rest of the city. All of the extra minions that would have been involved in the fight would have been done away with. Um, but they would have still needed to go in and fight. But they cracked the door and left it that way. And I was like, well, that's enough to get
Mm,
inside.
just gotta look.
They cracked the door and left it open, so they need protections. We could just get through the cracked open door and get the final boss. It was an interesting solution they came up with for sure. I what's the next question? Or Jen, have you looked up the thing?
yeah, it's looking like it's not a permeable barrier from
Let's
what
take a
I
look.
can tell. But
Tiny hut.
you can shoot out with arrows. I'm trying to see if this is
Spell. Yeah. Creatures and objects with a dome can cast this spell, can move through it freely. Yeah, it says they can move through it freely, which would imply that you could probably reach part of your. I mean, you have to in order to walk out of it. Part of your body is out of it, and part of your body is still in it when you're walking out. So, I figured you could just reach your hand up and down.
This may be one of those in where we've all read it and just
it's a
interpreted it a
weird,
different way. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it
You know
does
what?
say that spells can't be cast through it, so that part I was misremembering. But that's the reason why they had to reach their hand out in the first place was because you
Yeah.
cast it on the other side of the barrier. Um,
What's our final question? Because
well,
we
we're
are
running
nerd.
close.
Yeah.
How homebrewed is the Void Bomb? Baldur's Gate 3 said 1 force damage, and that was clearly a nastier blast than that. And then question, wait a smeg, was Void Bomb a circle cast? Cassius 335, those questions both come from you. So I want to say that the words Void Bomb just came to me in the moment, so it's not
Well, and
anything specific.
Void Bomb isn't 100% Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah.
because there's a void bulb in
Mhm.
Baldur's Gate 3, which does a lot of what it seems like has happened in the place. Not
Yeah.
everything though, and certainly even at the really powerful stuff. Um, I will say for those that was in the moment, for those of you that were watching me like laugh and giggle and I thought I knew what it was and it wasn't what I thought it was, or at least the name. Um, and I'll say it, and Sim, you don't have to confirm or deny anything about it, but what it sounded to me for a second was like a graviturgy spell from the Wild Mount book called Ravenous Void,
Mm.
which is a ninth level spell, which still the after effects are still different, so there's still different stuff going on. But yeah, if you have access to the Wild Mount book, Explorer's Guide to Wild Mount, and it might be in some of the other Critical Role books. I don't remember if it's been ported on over. Um, but I mean, it's a ninth level spell, so you can kind of imagine how, but it's basically a black hole. You make a black hole. It's nasty. So
Mm.
that's what I thought it was. Obviously, it's not called Void Bomb, and this sounds like there's something else going on if there's still effects going on. But yeah, that's why I was kind of laughing, panicking in that moment as I was having that moment of, oh God, a Void Bomb. Oh God, that's what I thought it was.
Well, it was one of those situations where I had this cool looking map, honestly, and there was a crater in the center. And when you guys got there, as one would expect, you investigated what had caused the crater. And I was like, well, now I have to come up with some stuff. So in the moment, that was the stuff I came up with. Of course, now that matters, and now there are now there's underlying mechanics behind it. But everything that was said in that scene was mostly just me being like, all right, well, this has to matter. They're investigating. There should be an answer to their questions. Uh, yeah, no, I've given it some thought since then because I needed to because now it's a thing. And I mean, how homebrewed is the void bomb? It's not really a spell; it's a magical effect.
Mm.
Um, I okay. I one of the most I'd say lasting impressions I picked up from reading I think it's The Magician's Nephew. I think it was. But the part
Mhm.
where they go to God, what's the place? I can't remember the name of the planet they go to that's abandoned and destroyed and everything. But there's the deplorable word stuff that I really, really want to include in in most of my stories that involve like these sort of things. And like we have an empress who's like super evil and didn't want to lose power and was, what would she deploy? And like she's willing to deploy some dangerous old Kasari style artifacts. This is that.
Mm.
This is an old Kasari artifact of some kind that was deployed as sort of a holding action by her people because she'd armed them before she left the palace and said, protect the palace, protect the throne room, protect the book at any cost. And any cost in some degree, in this case, involved using something that they should not have been using.
Mm.
I think that's as much as I'm willing to answer to that question.
That's that's fair. That's a lot more than I was expecting you to give. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that old technology sitting around. It's
A
never.
lot of stuff in this game is less spells, more technology. I mean, it's like the old what was it, the Vancian magic system, which
Mhm.
like the whole origins of D&D magic systems was in a post-apocalyptic sort of like we're well past a technological advancement that's so far ahead of us that even to us in our modern day it looks like magic. And like the reason why you forget the spells and like you needed to rememorize the as a wizard was because it was literally the data was leaving your head as a spell,
Mm.
and it was these ancient technological things that you were doing actually that were being interpreted by you as magic. um and I
That's Eberron too, is
Everyone's
magic
got
as technology.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's like the
everyone still does
foundation
it
of
too.
Eberron. I love Eberron. It's
Everyone's good.
it's brilliant.
Everyone's definitely got a little bit of influence on my game world, I would argue. I think it's pretty obvious to anyone who's familiar with Eberron to see that a little bit. Just that mixture of technology and magic. Like I had some players that were doing that were just eating breakfast, and I'm like, well, of course, in a world where you're eating breakfast at like a breakfast buffet at a hotel, they're gonna have the little, the little, I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but I've worked in hotels like this. They have the little metal pans with water in it and some sort of heater underneath it, but you don't need a candle. You You just need the firestone. What's a firestone? Nobody knows how it works. They're left over and they've worked for 1,000 years. They just
Yep.
continue to function.
Ever burning candle.
Yeah. It's like a candle,
Yeah.
except it just works forever as long as you want it to.
I remember
And
in second edition getting an ever burning candle, and it was like the greatest thing ever. We were so desperate for that because I mean, I think in 5e we worry a lot less about lighting in
mm,
dungeons typically. But I remember I was playing with a DM who was very into lighting and how much dark vision you had, and light sources were so hard to come by. And so finding an ever burning torch was like the greatest gift we could have gotten. Uh,
The funny thing, so with the lighting in dungeons, um, it's definitely been from game to game of
yeah,
how much that has mattered. And it's game to game, it's DM to DM, and then it's also like, okay, how many of the players have dark vision, or how many of the players
right.
have. And the funny moment um that happened in I keep referencing the Friday game, but for whatever reason all the stuff that we're talking about came up. So in the Friday game there was a week that I had to miss, and that happened to be the week in where for the first time in forever the question was asked, who here has dark vision or low light vision or away? And it had never come up before. And that was
Oh
the
no.
week in where we discovered, or I discovered, because I was not there. And so I was watching the episode afterwards to see what I'd missed. They just hand waved away my character that everything was okay, which was good because what I found out was I was the only one without dark vision. Now, uh, I was still playing the 2014 version of A Dragonborn, and I had been thinking about upgrading to the 2024 version of the Dragonborn, but I wasn't in a hurry. Like, I was kind of waiting for either a level up or some reason to, but I wasn't in a hurry. And then I took a look at the 2024 version of the Dragonborn who had dark vision, and I went, I need to do that now. For story reasons, I need to do that now so that people weren't lying last week about my character having dark vision, because everybody else had like dark vision or true sight, or was a warlock and had devil sight, or they had some other way to see in the dark, except for me. But I wasn't there, and so the DM just kind of said,
yeah.
Udazash will be fine. And here I am later on in my in the apartment watching, going, oh, oh,
Not so fine.
oh, okay.
I my own Friday game that I run, they are camping out in the middle of the wilderness. They found somebody who had uh, frozen, and they were around their campfire taking their long rest, and the next thing they know, something sprays a giant splash of water onto their campfire and one of the sleeping individuals. And then they look
Mm.
around and there's no light. Actually, that's not true. There's light always. I realized I just screwed up. I just realized I screwed up in that game. There's light always or at least for the time of the year that they're in. Son of bitch.
You know, the other time, or it was the other way around, was a game that Jen and I were in Children of Verte, and where I was the only one with dark vision,
Mm-hmm.
and light
Yeah, we were.
became really important.
That's
Yeah.
the rarest. That's I think one of the only games I've had where we had very rare dark vision happening.
Yeah.
And it was super important. It became like,
It became really important in that game.
The
like on a weekly basis. How do we make it so that everybody could see? And
And that
yeah,
was a world where it was hard to get light too. Deb made it very hard to get light for us.
yeah.
So yeah, that
that
was Deb likes to do a lot of resource difficulty challenge. Like a lot of the difficulties in her game are not having access to items that I think in many games we take for granted as players. And it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
We were specifically playing characters who were normal humans coming from the normal human world. So no, we didn't have, torches. And I don't mean like British version of torches. I mean like torches.
We
So we
had
didn't
cell
have,
phone lights for the first 2 episodes until we lost our batteries,
yep.
and
And so,
then that
yeah.
was it.
And it was also fun to, as we were gaining some of these magic powers, to describe and come up with creative ways to figure out how do we even know that we have them? How do we even describe how we have them? So like when my character
Mhm.
finally started to realize she had dark vision, like how do you even figure that out? How do you even describe it besides like, oh yeah, I can still see. What do you mean you can't still see? Yeah, I mean it's a little dark. Everything's kind of black and white. But what do you mean you can't see? Stuff like that. So it was really fun.
Even though I realize now that I actually screwed up and they actually had light, and that's going to bother me for a while. The
Aw,
the crux of the story is still that that party consists of a Gith, a halfling, a a fairy, and a kobold, which means only one a member of the party had dark vision.
yeah.
Uh, and
Kobolds for the win!
and
Yay!
with the fire out and my brain apparently completely failing me, I was like, oh, nobody else can see. That's gonna bother me for a long time. I can't believe I made that mistake.
Listen,
Like the
it
whole
happens.
premise of the world is that the sun is up half of the year and down half of the year.
Listen, it happens.
Ugh. Anyway,
There's a lot to track.
it is.
Maybe
Every
there were trees nearby that were casting shadows.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a big deal. But
Problem solved.
exactly.
I have this thing that I've introduced to that particular area anytime somebody visits it, that I think I stole from a YouTube video, but it's like this creature that will interrupt your long rests over and over and over again,
Oof.
just to cause you levels of exhaustion so that it can then eat you after you've died of exhaustion.
Oh.
That's
And
mean.
exhaustion in 2024 is
Can be rough, yeah.
is,
They're
is
very
real
easy to
bad.
deal with. They're very easy to deal with ultimately, but like that is their method of hunting essentially. They're actually pretty cute. They're very nice, except for the fact that they splash you with water in an environment that's at best 40 degrees Fahrenheit,
And wake you up in the middle of
a-
the night.
and put your fires out every time you try and light them back up.
Yeah, that's
Yikes.
that's yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Uh, but I realized that it's not, oh, that's going to bother me. I'm just going to move on, but God, that's going to bother me.
Aw.
I
Did
don't make
everybody
mistakes
still
like
have
that.
fun during that session?
I don't know.
Did
Probably.
anyone point it out during that session?
No, nobody noticed. I
Then
only
there
just
you
noticed when
go.
I was retelling the story just now and was like, wait a second. That's not consistent with my world.
Then no one else noticed.
Yeah.
Then it was fine. Then
Did
everyone
we
was too busy having fun.
did we get any more questions or was that the last one?
I think that was the last one.
All right. Well, in that
This
case,
is perfect timing, as here we are.
yeah, we're right here at the well, a little bit past the hour-long mark. It has been a pleasure, everyone. If you have something to promote, now would be the time. Lauren?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lauren Urban Sheeher. You can find all the stuff I'm doing at my website, lauren-urban.com, which is so hey, if you come on Sundays, Two Players in Book, congratulations. I'm usually here playing Fairlos. Um, Starting not this week, but next week on April 15th, at 5:30 p.m. over on the Critic Chronicles channel, you can join me for drift fishing. 5 episodes of me and a friend playing the game Tackle Box by Jay Walton. And two of those games will include people from this show that you will recognize, including, hey, our illustrious DM joined me for one of those games.
It was
So
really weird.
it's really weird. It's really fun. Tackle Box is it's a surreal role playing game where two people go out fishing, and every time they go get something out of the tackle box, something changes. And that's all you need to know. So come on by. That's starting April 15th, 5:30 Pacific on Critic Chronicles, and then come back on Fridays on Crit Hit Chronicles for Shadows over Baldur's Gate. Also at 5:30 Pacific for our continuing adventures of our our team. Who, yeah, uh, I'm not going to be there this Friday because I'm playing in an opera. Because
Nice.
every once in a while operas actually happen.
Yay.
So yeah, the whole fact that I'm the reason that everybody has been pulled into the Feywild. Whoops, sorry everybody. But yeah, you should definitely go watch, and then yeah, come back Sunday, where I won't be here next week because I'll be at an opera, but you should definitely come on back to see what happens next with the Void Bomb. Yay.
I am Jen Kretschmer. You can find me as dreamwisp.bisky.social, dreamwispjen, or dreamwisp, depending where you are on the interwebs. That's it.
I am Jeremiah Sumerian for now. And you can find me on the socials at D Sumerian pretty much everywhere, I think. Including YouTube, where I have a YouTube channel with videos and, people and stuff. And I write stuff for the SCP Wiki as well. It's been a pleasure. Special thanks to Billith, our producer, and Strike Red Kite as well. Both of those people are also Billith is producing, and the two of them are moderating chat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And check out our Patreon. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/players and book, all one word. If you go there, you can support the channel. You can also subscribe here on Twitch and try not to die. And we'll see
Bye.
you next week, hopefully.